Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Ever After Paper Crafts, and I'm really excited today to be sharing with you this super fun summer card using a brand new stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh. So this is the card we're going to be making today, and we have a fun distressed background here, and we have some really super cute and fun little characters that we've colored with our Zig markers. We've added lots of glitter with our Wink of Stella glitter pen. You can see a little bit of it there, and of course glossy accents to their sunglasses. This is the stamp set that we're going to be using today. It's brand new from Pretty Pink Posh, like I said, and it's called Summer Friends, and it is absolutely adorable. I had so much fun working with this stamp set, and I can see many more cards in my future with this stamp set. So super cute. So let's go ahead and get started. This background that I have created here is the exact background that I did for you on camera a month or so ago, where I created a mermaid card using some stamps from my favorite things. So I will link you to that video below. The only thing that I did here is I just simply cut a heart out of the middle using a brand new stitched Wonky Hearts die set from Simon Says Stamp. It's called Wonky Hearts. You get 3 different hearts in the die set from Simon Says Stamp. I used the middle one, and I simply cut a heart out of the middle of this panel that I created and adhered that heart to the card base, and then popped up the remainder with some foam tape. And that's how I created the background. And again, this is the same exact background that I created, the very one that I created on camera. And so I will link you to that video below. So I thought today I would just do a quick on-camera coloring for you on how I colored these cute little images from Pretty Pink Posh using my Zig markers and, of course, my water brush. So we're going to do some watercolor painting of these images today. So let's go ahead and get started. I already went ahead and pre-stamped the images onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock using Hero Arts black dye ink. This is my absolute favorite ink for watercoloring. It dries immediately, so you don't have to wait around for your images to dry, and I've never had any bleeding at all. So I absolutely recommend that ink. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in now very closely so you can see the coloring that I will be doing. All right, I used very few, believe it or not, Zig markers to create these, to color these images. So I will call them out as I go. I'm going to start first on the bottom left here with this sweet, sweet little girl. And I used, we'll start with her hat. I used violet and light violet for her hat. And of course, let me back up, I always use a Zig water brush when I'm coloring with my Zig markers. Yes, you can use water and do watercolor painting with your Bristol Smooth cardstock. I just recommend being very light with the water because you don't really need a lot to get these markers to move beautifully on the Bristol Smooth. So I also have a paper towel handy. I always have a paper towel in my workstation because as I transition from color to color, I'm going to want to scribble off the tip of the Zig water brush just to keep it clean. And that's what the paper towel is for. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with her hat. I always recommend when you're working with the Zigs to start with your darker color first, which in this case for me would be violet. So I'm just going to put a little bit of violet, which is my darker color, where I think it's going to be darkest on her hat. The less marker that you put on your image, the more dramatic your shading is going to be. So now I'm coming in with the light violet rather, I'm sorry, and blending the darker color out in a circular motion with that light violet. I'm now going to take my water brush and let it do the bulk of the work for me. In a circular motion, I'm pulling the color up and filling in the white space that's remaining. And so now we have a really nice blended look to our hat. I'm going to continue with the hat, and I'm going to put less color here so you can see what I mean. Just a tiny little bit I've scribbled on of the violet. I'm going to come in, pull that violet out with the light violet, and now I'm going to take my water brush and fill in all that white space. And you're going to see a much more dramatic shading here because I put so little color down with the marker. So that's just kind of an idea, just to you know, kind of demonstrate for you how you can get different looks. I'm going to go back in and just make it a little bit darker to match the top of the hat. So I'm going to go back in with the regular violet, and that's a great thing with the Zigs. You can go back over top what you've already done to darken it if you wish. I just pulled that color out a little bit with the light violet, And now I'm taking my water brush and filling in all the white space. And we have a beautifully blended now part of her little hat here. Let's continue on with the hat, on doing the right side and of course the left side as well. Let's move on to the right here. I feel like it's going to be darkest down at the base here and kind of around her face. So we'll put the violet there, come in with the light violet and blend that color out a bit. And I either push or pull the color, or I go in a circular motion, or I do some combination of both to get the color out where I want it to be. Now we're just using the water brush to blend, and that looks lovely. And we're going to do the same thing on the left side of the hat. Just taking the violet, which is the darker color, kind of going around her face and here at the base where it's going to be darkest. Now we're going to take the light violet in a circular motion, blend this regular violet color out. And don't be discouraged, because right now obviously that looks like a mess, right? But once you bring the water brush in and in a circular motion pull that color out and fill in the remainder of the white space, you're going to see beautiful, beautiful results. And let me bring this up to the camera. Now we have a beautifully blended hat there. I think it looks absolutely lovely. Now I also did her little tank top in violet as well. So I'm going to keep the same colors out for a moment here, and we're going to use the violet first. And I'm just going to put a little bit of scribbling on just a line of color where I feel her shirt is going to be the darkest. So there we have it. And I'm going to take the light violet now, do the same thing we've been doing. Blend that color out in circular motion, very small circles, just pulling the color out, and then taking our water brush and of course letting it do the remainder of the work by pulling the color into the white space that is remaining. So now we're going to have a nice shaded look showing degrees of shading of color, which will indicate shadows and depth and darkness and light in your image, which will make the image pop up off the page and almost look three-dimensional. It's quite a lovely effect. Now we're going to do her hair. I use my favorite brunette combination for her hair, which is dark brown and brown. So the dark brown, I'm just going to work in little sections here. I'm going to do this section on the left here first, and under the hat and right by her face is where I feel it's going to be darkest, where the shading is going to be. So now I'm coming in with the brown and pulling that color up, and now my water brush is going to do the remainder of the work. So we have lovely shaded brown brunette hair. Going to do the rest of the hair that's at the top of her face here. And again, I like to work in sections because it just simply keeps me organized and helps me remember where the shading is going to be and where the highlights are going to be. So there's our dark brown laid down in just a very small line of color. And quite literally, it's like a line. It's just a line that I've scribbled on of color from the marker. No magic to that at all. Very, very simple. And now I'm using my water brush to get into these small spaces and pull the color up and filling in the white space. So we get this nice shaded look. Now I got a little bit of brown accidentally in my hat. And sometimes that will happen if you are working very quickly like I am for the video, and these previous places that you've colored haven't had a chance to dry. And that's okay. I'm just going to fix it by scribbling some color on top of that brown and then just using my water brush to blend it. And you see how that could have created, if I didn't have a water brush, that would have created a really blotchy line there. But the water brush just completely smooths out those lines and makes them unnoticeable. It's really, really cool. All right, so now we've fixed the hat. Let's go on to the base of her hair here. And I feel like by her face is going to be darkest, so I'm coming in with the dark brown under her ear, and around her face is going to be darkest. Where that hair is up against her body is where the shadow is going to be. Now I'm coming in with the brown and just blending this color down and up here, just blending it out, I should say. That's probably more descriptive. Blending the color out and up into the open white space. And now I'm taking my water brush and bringing the color in to the white space that remains. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side. Bring some of this marker down here. This is the dark brown. Of course, always start with your darkest color first is my is how it works best for me, is my suggestion for you. Do what works for you, but this works best for me, starting with the darkest color. I've taken my brown to sort of blend that color out, and now I'm going to pull the color that remains into the white space that is left behind here, and that creates a very lovely blended look. All right, so now we're going to do her shorts, and I just used one color for her shorts, which is a turquoise green. And the way I picked my Zig markers is I just looked at the background that I had created and just tried to pick colors that went nicely with it. No magic there, just looking for colors that look nice together. Of course, there's a lot of purple in the background and blues and a little bit of like a almost turquoise green. So that's how I came up with my colors. All right, so there's her little shorts. Let's go ahead and do her skin now. And for the skin, I like to use a blush tone, which is the darkest, and a marker called Flesh Color. So because we always start with our dark first, I'm going to do her face, and we're going to start with the blush. And we're going to go underneath her bangs first, where it's going to be darkest, and of course underneath her glasses here, and around sort of the base of her chin. Going to come in now with the Flesh Color, and you're not going to see a whole lot in an image like this where much of her face is covered up by her sunglasses. You're not going to see a huge amount of dramatic shading here, but you will see, it'll be subtle and you will still see it. So it's worth going through the steps because it will pay off. You will still see some shading, and it really will kind of bring your whole image together, and it will really look nice at the end. And now we want to, of course, do her sunglasses. I'm going to use just violet for the little heart around the glasses. Just scribbling on kind of randomly here some purple with that violet marker. And now very carefully, because it's such a thin space, take your water brush, or if you're using a paintbrush with water, make sure that you have a very thin brushes, you know, at the bottom of the bristles at the bottom of the paintbrush. Make sure that they are very thin to get into this very thin space here. And you're just giving the glasses a little bit of shading. Just tracing along that line that creates the glasses. And it's okay if you go a little bit inside the glasses, because we're going to be using a black zig to fill that in. All right, now let's grab our black marker. If I can, I think I have misplaced my black Zig marker here. Let me just find it super quick here, because that is what we are going to use to create our the inside of our sunglasses. We're just going to scribble just a little bit of black down. Here it is. Just a tiny bit. Black is one of those Zig markers that reacts quite dramatically to the water. So you really don't need a lot when you're using black. There's a few other colors like that as well. That's really just something you kind of learn as you go and work with these markers. But black will react quite dramatically to the water. So you don't need a whole lot. As you can see, I put very little black marker down, and with that I've been able to create, or to fill in rather, the entirety of the glasses. Now let's just quickly finish with her skin tone here. And so we're going to bring the blush in, do a little bit of the darker color under her chin, and then at the bottom of her arms, like so, and then use the flesh tone to blend this darker color out. And then of course you'll use your water brush to fill in the white space that remains. And now we'll do the same thing with her legs. We'll take the blush color underneath her shorts, and to the inner part of her legs will be darker. So we'll put the darkest color there. We'll take our flesh color and do the blending of the darker color, and then our water brush will fill in the remainder of the white space. So there you have it. There's a quickly colored little girl for you, very quickly colored, but you can see there the really nice shading that we've gotten. Now I'm just going to quickly, I'm obviously not going to color all of these because that would take forever. So I'm going to just show you how I did the sand castle and sand. I like to use brown and light brown for sand. So let's work on this castle just a little bit here. So I'm going to lay down my brown, which is my darker color first. I'm pretending, by the way, that the light source is hitting these images straight on. So the light is kind of hitting it dead on, and that's going to mean that kind of the outside edges are going to be darker and the inside is going to be lighter, if that makes sense. So I've scribbled on my brown and light brown, and now I'm going to take my water brush and fill in the remainder of this left side of the castle. this really is a great combination for sand, in my opinion. It just gives it kind of that golden look, and the highlights are beautiful, I think. Going to continue on with the middle section of the castle, doing the same exact thing, just taking the dark marker, which in this case is brown, going along the outside where it's going to be darkest, and then taking my light brown, and of course bringing that color out in a circular motion, blending it out together. And then we'll take our water brush here in just a moment and fill in the remainder of the white space. And it's just going to create a lovely blended look. And what I love too about the way the water reacts with these markers is you don't see the lines anymore. I have put just random lines of marker down, and it is completely covered up when I bring this water brush in, and I absolutely love how that works. I absolutely love these markers, if you can't tell. And by the way, I do want to make it clear that I do not get compensated in any way by Zigs. I also use Copics in some of my videos. Copics will always have a place in my craft room. I love my Copics. I love watercolor pencils. I haven't done a video on them yet, but I love them. I love all different kinds of coloring mediums. I just tend to reach for the Zigs more often because they happen to be my favorite. So I'm just simply sharing with you guys what I personally love and use the most. So this is not, to try to sell you anything or anything like that. I'm just sharing tips and techniques that work for me and what I personally love. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of go along the bottom here in a circular motion to blend the bottom out just a little bit. And there you have it. There's our really cute sandcastle. I'm just going to do a little bit on the boy and then I'll call this video done at this point because I don't want to take too much of your time. For the bucket, of course, the sand would be the same color. And then I did the bucket blue. And let me just quickly show you blue. I'm just going to do a little portion of the bucket here. So I just scribble down where it's going to be, shaded the most. And that's going to be kind of underneath the handle and then on either side and along the bottom. So I just used one color for the bucket and, of course, use the water brush to fill in the spaces, and it's so easy. Look at how pretty this is. I love the regular blue. It's one of my favorite blues in the Zig collection. It's just so pretty. And now we'll just fill in this middle section here, and you have a nicely blended bucket. Very pretty. So now let's get to the little boy. I did his hair a blonde. To create the blonde color, I used light brown and yellow, and I will have a list on my blog of all of the colors that I used of my Zig markers and coloring all of the images. So I will link to my blog, of course, in the description box of this video, and you can see a complete product list on my blog. So now I'm coming in with yellow and blending the light brown out, and now, of course, using my water brush to fill in the white space that remains. And now you have a cute little blonde-haired little boy. For his shirt, I did blue. I've already shown you how the blue blends on the bucket, so let's go ahead and just do his shorts, which I did in a red, and I just happen to use geranium red. It's one of my favorite reds. It's kind of not too bright and not too orangey. So we just put some color down, use the water brush, pull it out, and you have a nice little shaded shorts. If you want to go over it again, you obviously can, as I've demonstrated with the hat. You can go back over what you've already laid down to darken it up to make the shading even more dramatic, and I think that looks great for his little shorts. So let me bring this up to the camera again, and you can see how I've shaded those shorts and his hair, and I've done this very quickly. I'm going to zoom back out and bring over the final card, and you can see I went a little slower, of course, in the final card. The shading, I think, is a little bit more dramatic, I guess you could say, on the final card here, but even doing it very quickly, you still get very nice shading, and I just want to point that out. You don't have to take a master class in art to be able to use these Zig markers. They're so easy, and you get really lovely results. So again, here's the final card, and this was just so much fun to create. Don't forget, I will link to how I did this exact background in another video. I will link to that in the description box of this video. And that's it for today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you'll give these Zigs a try. You get really beautiful results, I guarantee it. Have a lovely day, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.